Mosab Yousef confronted an activist so hard her jaws dropped, literally.
The cause must die. I think enough is enough.
He's not just anyone. He's the son of a Hamas leader, but he turned his back on them. And here we can see him calling pro-Palestinian activists useful idiots.
They call them useful idiots.
Not just anywhere, on Dr. Phil, on national TV.
It's hard to breathe, but that's alright.
Yo guys, welcome back to Shae Unfiltered, and today we are jumping into something wild. Mosab Yousef, raised in Hamas, a son of one of the leaders, but he turned his back on them, now works with Israeli intelligence, went on national TV to expose the truth. From what I've seen about him, he is a no-nonsense taker. He's very direct, never beats around the bush. He says things the way he believes they are, with so much intensity you can feel his eyes through the screen. Anyway, that's not too much guys, let's roll the clip. But before we start, make sure you smash like and subscribe guys, okay? Let's get this started. Also make sure you share this video to someone, alright? You know me, I'm all about truth, facts, logic.
And when I ask you if what happened on October 7th is something you condemn, and you say, well, you have to look at that by looking at hundreds of years of conflict. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's either right or it's wrong, and it was wrong, and I don't need 100 years of conflict to know it was wrong. When somebody comes over a fence and goes into someone's house and burns their infant in its crib, I don't give a damn why they did it. It's wrong. It's good to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well.
You grew up being indoctrinated by Hamas, and your father was one of the co-founders. What did they teach you from an early age about Jews?
There's lots of hatred in that culture against the Jewish people. It's not a secret. In fact, the Muslim belief system has a fundamental problem with the Jewish people.
And their solution is what?
First of all, we need to understand what is the problem.
I agree, and I'll tell you what I agree on. Before you can solve a problem, you need to understand the problem.
Because from a personal experience with the Jewish people, all I saw, the most amazing, most productive, and most successful nation in the world that don't harm anyone else. So why the Muslim people hate the Jewish people? They don't have a reason except the ideological reason. And that is, in some Islamic texts, they say that Muhammad had a problem with the Jews, and Muhammad is their prophet, so they follow his footsteps. But in reality, Muhammad did not write a word that says anything against the Jewish people. You can say hatred as one motive, but it's not only hatred. It's human delusion, it's envy, it's anger.
But there's a difference between hating someone and deciding that you need to wipe them off the face of the earth. And when I look at what happened on October 7th, that's more than just hating. What's that about?
You know, there is lots of violence. And what Hamas did on October 7 was an attempt for ethnic cleansing. In fact, they succeeded in ethnically cleanse close to 20 Jewish communities. And this shows you their intention. You know, they want to dominate. This was a holy mission. It's a holy war. In Islam, to kill for Allah is a way of worship. This is the stuff that nobody likes to talk about.
Wait, what is this? It's a way of worship, but as a faith, you're meant to save people. Not gonna lie, I've heard about jihad, I've heard about jihadists, I've heard about 72 virgins, I've heard all of that lot. But if I'm honest, it is really hard to grasp.
Let's take a look at what you're describing in what some of these kids are trained to do at a very young age.
In Gaza and the West Bank, nearly 10,000 teachers and school administrators employed by UNRWA belong to Hamas-dominated unions. which call for the destruction of Israel. UNRWA is financing school curriculums that glorify terror and suicide bombing. Children are being inoculated with the belief that any and all means possible must be used to reclaim Palestine.
UNRWA students openly parade in the streets and call for Israel's destruction. All of this occurs in plain sight, within the watchful eye of UNRWA teachers. These students are between the ages of 8 and 10 and have already received military training.
فلسطين عربية من المي للمية.
كيف عن حق العودة؟
هذا نرمى على اليهود حجار وندبح اليهود. إن نقتل اليهود وندافع عن وطننا.
لو شو ما يصير يصير مش راح يصير سلام.
راح ناخذ حقنا والله ينتقم منهم إن شاء الله يموتوا كلهم.
And parents, if their child is killed in the service of that, that's a good thing.
It's encouraged in that society.
And your father was fine if you got killed in that service.
Well, this is practically what he did in real life. When he had to choose between the cause and his own son, who saved his own life. In fact, I sacrificed everything to save his life. And my reward was to be disowned, shunned, and he publicly stated that my blood is allowed. That was some 12 years ago.
Your father?
12 years before I disowned him.
Well, next, what Mosab says, students protesting for Palestine need to know that just might surprise them. But first, as we go to break, more shocking words from the mouths of young Palestinians.
You know, I keep saying it. Before you become an activist for anything at all, for any cause, you need to do some basic research. Just get knowledge. Do some historical research. That's the easiest one. Try to find out what you're fighting for. Understand it, you know, deep down to the roots. Once you have the full knowledge, then you can be more effective. But running around with, you know, running and fighting for a cause you haven't got a clue about. All your information is from hearsay, they said this, from the trends. Just do research, all right? No one is telling you don't support the cause you're supporting. Support whatever cause you want to support. It is fine. But do research and get full-on knowledge.
عن المقاومة؟ شو بيقولوا لك؟
إنه إحنا لازم جميعنا نأيد المقاومة والمقاومين هم اللي لازم يرجعوا لنا بلدنا وهيك كل بتاخذ بالقوة بيرجع شغل بالقوة.
أنا أقرأ اليهود
يعني إنهم بيعلمونا بالمدرسة إنهم إرهابيين
إنهم هدول مش منيح وهدول بقتلوا قاعدين بشبابنا. إذا بطعن أعمل عمليات الدهس.
Student organization.
What did the last boy say?
بطعن أعمل عمليات الدهس.
I will ram a car into them. Wait, all this car ramming that we've been seeing in the West, I will ram a car into them. That was not a coincidence.
Student organizations' reactions to the Hamas attack revealed a disturbing degree of ivy-covered intellectual rot. Americans nationwide have been appalled and shocked. The leadership of these supposedly highly sophisticated schools are so busy virtue signaling that words are violence, but violence, horrific, inhumane violence, is social justice, that they have forgotten it is their job to teach their students to think and to test reality. I was absolutely outraged about what was happening on college campuses, and I could not remain silent. I posted that message and more on social media. I'm here with Mosab Yousef, son of the Hamas co-founder. He turned his back on Hamas and is estranged from his family. He wrote a book, and here's what he says about these college protesters.
I love Hamas. I think Hamas.
Oh, you love a terrorist organization.
Sandals.
Interesting. Harvard Square.
They should be all exterminated. And their kids, their mothers, their children, just like Hitler.
To all those students, I say that it's very disappointing to see Americans supporting Hamas and thinking that Hamas is a cool thing. While Hamas does not respect any of those followers, while those followers don't know that Hamas would torture them and massacre them with no mercy, they call them useful idiots. They don't know that Hamas is a dark, black hole.
You guys are Nazis.
You're the one killing Jews.
Genocide.
You have no idea what you're talking about. I am being emotional. I have the right to be emotional because I speak on behalf of the children as a Palestinian child. Majority of people lack purpose. They want a cause, and without a cause, they don't exist.
You say that they're looked at by Hamas and the Palestinians as useful idiots. What do you mean by that?
I spent lots of time in Hamas prisons with other Hamas leaders and Hamas members from different districts. Then, most importantly, I worked with the Israeli intelligence and I had the honor to be a part of the counterterrorism unit. And I was born there and part of that culture, part of that religion. And I barely understood this monster. That's why I described it as a black hole. Then some people hear about Hamas or they see an avatar of a Hamas fighter carrying a rifle, a freedom fighter, and they think it's a fancy idea, you know, to support such a monster. This is why I call them idiots, absolutely idiots, because they don't know what they are supporting. They are supporting a monster that has been hijacking an entire society and endangering the entire Middle East, pushing the world towards a global war. Instead of condemning such a monster that they just committed ethnic cleansing against innocent people, then kidnapped hundreds of hostages, then used their own people as human shields. And none of those pro-Palestine people condemned Hamas up to this day. How long would it take them to realize that this is not only enemy of Israel, it's enemy of civilization? So when I see protesters on campuses like Harvard, of course I was outraged. I am still outraged. What's happening is insanity. Those pro-Palestine people need to go to a mental asylum.
Crazy. They have to go to a mental asylum. He said it without flinching.
I was indoctrinated to hate a lot of people. First and foremost, I was taught to hate myself. I was taught to hate Jewish people, that they are the enemies of Allah, and that the worst possible thing in the world to be is a Jew.
You're seeing what has been happening on college campuses everywhere. And joining me now are seniors from the University of Michigan, Selma and Zainab. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Anything you want to say in response to what's been said so far?
Well, absolutely. I believe that this conversation is being contextualized in the wrong way. I believe that it's being discussed under the notion that this is a religious war, that this is a conflict between Arabs and Jews, and that Hamas is central to Palestinian suffering or Palestinian resistance. And I think I want to give a bit more historical context of why we're actually fighting for Palestine. When we say that we're pro-Palestine, we're not advocating for any military group. We're advocating for the total liberation of all oppressed peoples.
I get the contextualization, but I also get a lot of buzzwords strung together. But I'm asking you what you think and you believe. Let's start with what happened on October 7th. Do you endorse that?
I reject the the premise of that question, because I don't believe that the person asking me that question has the moral authority to ask it until they first and foremost condemn the violent formation of Israel and the ensuing Palestinian deaths. And in fact, I find it unfair that advocates for Palestine are first forced to preemptively condemn acts of violence before their platform is considered legitimate. It plays into Islamophobic tropes.
Is it? Okay. Let's hear that again.
I'm asking you what you think and you believe. Let's start with what happened on October 7th. Do you endorse that?
I reject the premise of that question, because I don't believe that the person asking me that question has the moral authority to ask it until they first and foremost condemn the violent formation of Israel and the ensuing Palestinian deaths. And in fact, I find it unfair that advocates for Palestine are first forced to preemptively condemn acts of violence before their platform is considered legitimate. It plays into Islamophobic tropes.
Islamophobic tropes?
Yes.
Well, let's just get down to right and wrong.
Wow. Okay. I mean, like, she just, threw in some big grammar right there. First of all, he's asking her if she condemns it or if she supports a terrorist act, and she can't say yes. She rejected the premise of that question because the person asking her, she believes he doesn't have the moral authority. Do you condemn October 7th? Don't say that. That's Islamophobic. Okay.
For their platform is considered legitimate. It plays into Islamophobic tropes.
Islamophobic tropes?
Yes.
Well, let's just get down to right and wrong.
Okay.
And if you don't want to answer the question, that is an answer. Do you condemn what happened on October 7th?
Of course, we do not justify murdering any innocent civilians. But again, the framework of the question makes it seem as if the situation is the result only because of October 7th, when there have been several massacres for decades leading up to this. So when we have been the recipients of that violence and we are first asked to condemn violence, I find that there is a sense of hypocrisy in those questions when our suffering is not being recognized, and the first thing we're asked is to condemn.
What do you think Israel was going to do when Hamas cuts a hole in the fence and comes over the top and kills 1,300 people? What did you think they should have done?
Good question.
I think they have every right to go in combat with Hamas, but I don't think they have the right for 92% of the death count to be civilians.
If they burn an infant in a crib, do you see that as a moral equivalent to a collateral death from a bomb being dropped as an act of war?
They have explicitly targeted civilian areas that have been marked as civilian areas. Israel has the registry for every person in Gaza.
And if that's where the enemy is hiding, do they have a right to attack them?
No, they do not have the right to kill.
There are some things that are just fundamental human decency. And when I ask you if what happened on October 7th is something you condemn, and you say, well, you have to look at that by looking at hundreds of years of conflict. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's either right or it's wrong, and it was wrong, and I don't need 100 years of conflict to know it was wrong.
The fact of the matter is that Hamas, yes, did take innocent life. Why did Hamas take away innocent life? Why was Hamas platformed? Why was Hamas funded? Why is Hamas empowered to take away innocent life?
Let me tell you something. When somebody comes over a fence and goes into someone's house and burns their infant in its crib, I don't give a damn why they did it. It's wrong. I've read it that the charter of Hamas is to eliminate the Jewish race.
I saw that.
Beginning with Israel, but not stopping with Israel, wiping them off the face of the earth. Is that true?
This is true, but it does not end there. Now we have the problem of the pro-Palestine who are actually giving Hamas cover. They are participants in the crime. In fact, since October 7, I personally don't differentiate between Hamas and what's so-called Palestinians. Because actually there is no Palestinians. There are tribes. There is the tribe of Hamas, and there is the tribe of the Islamic Jihad, and there is the tribe of Khalil, and there is the tribe of Nablus, and each one has different interests, and all of them are conflicted. If they did not have Israel as the common enemy, they would kill each other. This is the reality of what's so-called Palestine.
Rhetoric?
You don't know what Palestine is. Actually, in fact, the keffiyeh that you are wearing.
What did she say to him? Did she say he's using colonial rhetoric? Okay.
This is the reality of what's so-called Palestine. You don't know what Palestine is. Actually, in fact, the keffiyeh that you are wearing, this is just a statement to show that you really lack the authenticity to represent the case. And what's so-called the cause, you know, this is a human problem.
So you just...
The cause must die. I think enough is enough. And now it's proven, and you are helping Hamas to prove it to the world, that Palestine depends on the destruction of the state of Israel. And this is not acceptable, and we are not going to agree to it. And I tell you something, for the next 10 or 20 years, the Palestinian people will pay the bill that Hamas is caused today, and most likely in blood.
To you, Hamas and Palestinians are the same, they're one and the same?
After October 7, yes, there is no difference.
Really?
The vast majority of the Palestinian people support Hamas.
Really?
This is a fact. This is proven by statistics, and your silence now. You cannot even condemn Hamas and say that what they did on October 7 was an act of a savage group. You don't have that power.
Said I condemn.
On what authority do you speak? You only speak on the authority of Hamas propaganda.
No, why do you say that I'm speaking on the authority of Hamas propaganda?
Because if you were a decent human being, you can say that the thousands were killed on October 7. That was a crime against humanity. It was a genocide.
All she can say is she condemns the question. That is it. That's it. That's her comeback. That's her reply. Condemning the question. And challenging the legitimacy of Dr. Phil's platform. Now, I believe that when you participate in healthy debates, you are meant to state out your facts. Bring them all out. All right? Facts on facts. Drop your points. Show your knowledge. Try to win the other side over, or try to win the viewers over. Not try to deflect from questions, not rejecting questions, not hiding away. Just speak the truth, or speak your knowledge as it is. And if you're ignorant, your ignorance will be made known. I think that's it. Simple, sine qua non. And if you listen clearly to Mosab Yousef, he didn't condemn the Free Palestine statement. He never said Free Palestine is the problem. But he said blindly following Hamas and all those propaganda is the issue for him. Without him saying these actual words I'm about to say, I think it's nuanced. He's basically trying to put a point across, saying he wants freedom for the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people deserve to have a free life. But they and the activists are going about it the wrong way. Because if you want peace, you need to go the right way. When he called out the activists, you could see that she basically had no idea what she was supporting. She didn't know. She was ignorant, but she was trying to defend her ignorance. So guys, make sure you know what you're doing, you know what you're supporting. Just get the full information. So when somebody calls you out, you already have knowledge about it, and you can always have an answer back. But for me, the reason why I believe we need knowledge is so that we can fight for the right cause. In this case, I think the right cause to fight for here is for a liberation of the Palestinian people, for freedom of the Palestinian people. And for you to understand that from the river to the sea, you need to do extensive research into that area to understand what it means from Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. You need to know what that truly entails. So guys, what do you think? Are these activists fighting for real justice, or are they playing into the hand of some terrorist propaganda? Let me know what you think about this in the comment section, guys, and we get talking. Also, make sure you smash like, subscribe, give me some love. So guys, I take input, I take critiques, all right? If you want to criticize me, feel free. Drop it in the comment section. Give me the words. Your criticisms help me improve. Peace out.
Oh, I love you more than words can say. You are me. Oh, you are the light that shine in my way. You are me. Oh, I love you more than words can say. You are me. Oh, you are the light that shine in my way.